And so that's what we do every time there's a should, is that there's an invisible cord, like a rope, you know that tug of war that we're holding on to. And when we're holding on to that rope, we're actually bringing the energy of resistance. And the energy of resistance actually pushes away anything that the universe is about to provide. So it's about letting go. Welcome to Soul Sisters Get Real, the show that goes deep in who we really are and why we are really here.
We're your hosts, Caryn from the States.
And Eleni from Australia.
We've had heartfelt conversations as soul sisters for years, and we're ready to share our truths, stories, and life lessons with you.
And to inspire you to connect to your truest essence, which resides deep within your soul. There'll be tears, there'll be laughter, and there'll be no holding back.
So sit back, relax, and let's get real about the things that truly matter.
Hello everybody, I am so excited about today's Soul Sisters program because today it's just going to be myself and my soul sister Caryn from the States. We love it when we have guests, but we really, really love it when it's just the two of us. And so, hey Caryn, how are you, my love?
Great. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you and share with others what we expected for our lives and what is not in our lives right now, but yet what is in our lives.
Yeah, so today's episode is going to be all about when things don't go as planned. Like we expect our life to look a certain way. Maybe you're single and you expect it to be with a partner. Maybe you've started a new business venture and you expect it to be more advanced than you are right now. Maybe you expected to be married and you're separated. And it's these life challenges that really throw us into the growing pains and help us grow more than ever. So tell me, Caryn, about you. Are you where you expected to be right now?
Oh gosh, no. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I expected. I grew up in a middle class white family with white picket fence. Mom and dad, married, still married. 3 healthy girls that were very well behaved. Let's say that we were very well behaved. I can't even tell you. And, that's what my life was. I think that's what I grew up with. That's what I expected. I wanted to be a psychiatrist or psychologist. I went to college. I expected to be married forever. I expected to have this nice, easy, calm, loving life. And it is so far from that. And not that it's not easy and wonderful, because it is easy and wonderful. It's just not what I expected. And so I would love to know what your life looked like, what your story was when you were younger, and what it was intended to be, or what you intended it to be.
Well, very similar to yours. I mean, I came from that kind of family as well. I'm the youngest of 5, and everybody in our family happily married. So I've got 4 older siblings who are happily married to people who come from the same ethnic background, which is Cyprus. And so everything was kind of easy. Everything went easily. And then I fell in love with someone who came from that same ethnic background too, and I married him. He was my first husband. And everything kind of imploded when I fell in love with another man and pretty much shocked everybody in the family. And so everything started to unravel from that point. But the interesting thing is we think it's unraveling because at that moment it feels like it's unraveling because it's really difficult to get through and very challenging to get through. But now that I look back on it, everything happened for a reason. Do you find that now that you look back on those things that are no longer in your life, that you thought were going to be in your life, like it's actually happened for a reason, for a higher perspective?
Yes, and it's a very interesting thing coming from someone that son has died, child has died, right? And yet I can say that I do believe everything happened for a reason. And it was not the story that I had planned for my life. Um, Yet I know that Josh died for a reason, and I'm writing this book for a reason. I know that I am no longer married for a reason, as painful as that was. And so, yeah, it's a very interesting perspective. I was at a retreat this weekend, and I have a true belief that everything does happen for a reason. And when we allow ourselves to embrace what it is that our soul's path is, even though it's not easy because we grow from it, we're making massive life changes in others' lives also. Because when we do things in our life or things happen in our life, it's not just us, right? There's this ripple effect everywhere. And so if I would have had the easy life that I had expected, to be married forever and this house that I absolutely love now, considering not staying here forever because I thought I would, live here forever and we'd retire here, my husband and I, and the boys wouldn't live so far from their families and their families would come visit. Like, it's all different now. And yet it's okay. Like it,
Mm.
you know.
And this is the thing, it's those challenges that really elevate the expansion of our soul. So at the time, what now, 25 years ago, when I did leave my first husband, I'm not for one moment advocating that the actions that I took back then are okay and they were aligned with integrity. They weren't. But I had a lot of growing to do back then. And the person that I was then, isn't the person that I am now. I now feel completely aligned with, my values. But back then I was still trying to work it all out. I still had a lot of fear about what I thought I could do and what I couldn't do. And I had this fear about breaking up the marriage. And, it was really, really, really difficult. But once we have made those decisions, and it wasn't taken lightly, believe me, in order for that to happen, it took me 4.5 years to actually separate and move to the next stage of my life. But now when I look back on it, I don't judge that youngest part of me. I love her, and I love her innocent heart and her frightened heart because she didn't know how to do it differently. I think it's important that we love every part of ourselves and understand that yes, I could have taken a different path. Yes, I could have made different choices, but I had a lot of learning to do. And by taking those choices, I learned who I was not. I learned that I'm not someone who lies. I'm not someone who lacks integrity. And I learned who I actually was and started to align myself with who I was. And the thing is, Caryn, when we're stuck on a particular point of view in terms of it has to look this way, it has to look this way, what we're actually doing is we're denying the universe giving us another way. Like, so often I have spoken to clients who they are looking for a particular type of partner and it must be like this, and this. And because that he has to look a certain way, he has to have a certain kind of income, all these kind of superficial layers, they're actually excluding and denying their perfect partner who may not look like that.
So you said a few interesting things. The first one is that you love that part of you that you're not necessarily proud of. Yet what I heard is I don't have any regrets because I learned from her and I love her for who she was at the time. Now, like me and we're just completely different people. And everyone is. We don't stay the same. We either grow or we don't grow, but we don't stay the same. And what I loved about what you said is you don't regret those decisions you made because you learned from them and you're a better person for it.
Well, what you said about regrets though, like for many years I did regret. So that letting go of regret
Mm-hmm.
is not something that, I took an action, I made a choice, I went through hell, and
Mm-hmm.
then I didn't regret it. Like I regretted it. I went through years of regretting the choices that I made. And it's only like much later down the track that I look back with love and respect for every single part of me and the growth process, because now I understand that we are not the identity, that our soul is always, always pure. But in terms of what you said, Caryn, about, losing Josh, and, of course, that is something that a mother would never entertain as something that we would ever want in our life. And I know you still don't want that now.
Right.
And if you could have Josh back in a second, you absolutely would.
Right.
But you've come to a place of peace. So I just want to make that point, because it's not like we're looking at our life and saying, yeah, that's all worked out perfectly. We're not saying that. We're saying it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's worked out the way our soul wanted it to work out, and their soul wanted it to work out.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see it from a higher perspective and be at peace with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not be
Yeah.
like,
Absolutely.
yay, this is what happened, but more like, I'm at peace with what happened because I know there's a higher perspective here.
Yeah, absolutely. And things are happening and unfolding in my life that would never have unfolded that way. That was the other thing that I wanted to mention that you mentioned is I have worked through a lot of, and I know a lot of people do work through the should haves, right? It was not supposed to be this way, the supposed tos. That was really hard for me for a while when I went through both the divorce and Josh dying at the same time, because I had trouble shifting into I wasn't supposed to be part of that club that their child died. Like, I never wanted to be ever. This is something we, like many things, for the rest of our lives, it's there. It does not go away. And it wasn't supposed to be that way. I was never supposed to be divorced, like, never in a million years. In fact, one of my regrets in life is I remember telling my boys, don't worry, mom and dad will never get divorced. And I know we talked about this a little bit before, but the should haves, right? Like, that wasn't that didn't happen in my family. I shouldn't be divorced. I shouldn't have a child that died. And I certainly never expected to be an author. And yet I know without a doubt that I get to be a bestseller and the book that Josh and I are writing. And so that's one of those things that would have never happened if my life wouldn't have taken those turns. So dealing with the should haves, yes. And maybe that's just not what my soul's path was.
Yeah. Those shoulds are basically resistance. And I just do want to touch on a point that you said, though, that you do regret that you told your boys that your dad, that you that you and your husband were going to be together forever. The thing is that came from complete intention. So it wasn't like you lied. That was the truth at the time. And so that's the other thing we need to recognize, is that truth changes. So
Mm-hmm.
your truth at that time, that was true. So,
Mm-hmm.
Caryn, that was true. In that moment, you were together forever.
Yeah.
And then that timeline shifted later on. So maybe we can see it from that point of view. Same when
Mm-hmm.
I said to my first husband, I intend to be with you for the rest of my life. I really, truly, every cell of my body believed that to be true. That was my truth. It's not like I
Mm-hmm.
lied. It's not like
Right.
I said something and then intended to do something different. So my
Mm-hmm.
intention was always to be with him forever.
That's a good
And
point.
so we get stuck on truth, like truth shifts, believe it or not. So one thing that is the truth of today is not the truth of tomorrow. And that is what I think we need to be really open about,
Mm-hmm.
because if we're not open about the truth shifting, we're not allowing new truths to come into our awareness so that there is expansion. If we get so stuck on a belief that it has to be this way, you talked about your book being a bestseller, and I've got no doubt that it will be. And I had that same belief as well. But what I've come to the realization of is that if I really hold on to that as an absolute knowingness, that's resistance. But if
Mhm.
I'm relaxed about it and say, well, it might be, but
Mhm.
it may not be.
Mhm.
It, who knows what the universe and my soul have planned? Something way bigger than that,
Mhm.
something way less than that, but something that is exactly perfect. But if we, in our limited way of thinking, the way the human thinks, we
Mhm.
can only think about things in
Linear.
like very, very linear and what we
Mhm.
already know,
Right.
what we've already experienced. We
Mhm.
can't think about the possibility of
Mhm.
way more than that.
Right. Yeah, true. And you're very right about that is when we are attached to the outcome. That's when we have the should haves, the shouldn't haves, the disappointment, that not being able to shift out of it when we're attached to the outcome. And I love the point that you made about if it doesn't happen because maybe my soul had a different plan. I'll never forget when I was like, oh, okay, maybe there was a paradigm that way, and maybe our paths were just they took different directions because that's what we chose at the time. And also, like with my book, and I'm sure you're in this space too, is I've decided that this book is not for me. It is for God, and it is for my soul's mission, and it's for what my calling is and what God has called me to do. And that is heal other moms and parents through my experience and help them see things in a different way to bring joy and hope back in their life. And I've literally given it to God and said, I am not in control. I am not attached to the results. I was attached to being married forever. I was attached to having my three boys in my life forever and me dying first. I was very attached to that, which I think why it was so difficult for me to get through the should haves and the disappointment of it all. And yet maybe I've learned, but with this book, I've decided I am not attached to the results. I've surrendered. I've just surrendered it to God and said, your timing, your project, your baby. And I'm literally okay with whatever happens.
And what you've just said is really important because that's the difference between service to self and service to others. So the ego wants to serve self first. So the ego would have been like, I wanted to be a bestseller because I want to be famous and I want to do speaking events. And it's like me, 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 me. What can I do to elevate me so that I can look good? But what you're saying is really, it's about your soul. It's not about your ego. And the soul is all about service to others. How can I help other mothers deal with losses of their children? Because that's the biggest loss that anyone can possibly imagine, is the loss of their child. And so what an incredible mission that you've got, in this lifetime, which is to serve that. And when you have that wish that it's to serve others, that's when the universe co-creates with you and makes it happen in ways that you can't even imagine. Because it's not about you, the ego, the identity. It's about how can I be of service while I'm here in this body? How can I be of service to the world?
Yeah.
And that's really beautiful, Caryn.
Yeah. And I heard you say the same thing about your book. I mean, you were talking a little bit about how you were speaking to an editor that said that you needed to add some more words, and yet it didn't resonate with you because this book isn't about what it's supposed to be. But what I heard from you is it's more about what does my heart want to share with others. And that is what is going to have results, right? Is not being attached to what it's supposed to look like because this is what the editor says, but more like what your heart is saying.
Yeah. So what I was saying to you earlier was that my book at the moment is 41,000 words. And I was speaking to an editor and she said, well, it's not long enough. It needs to be 65,000. And she said, oh, it's easy for you because you're a hypnotist. All you need to do is write up some meditations and put them in. And I thought, no, like, I'm not going to put in filler words. Like, I'm not someone who even though I am a hypnotist and have got a business, like I'm not someone who sits there and writes meditations. It's just not what I do. Christian does that. He's really good at that. But I'm not going to put in filler words just so that the word count can go from 41 to 65,000. And I said to her, well, Michael Singer's words are not anywhere near that amount of words. You know, they're tiny little books that are so profound. And she said, yeah, but that's Michael Singer. But, you know, like, where do we draw the line? Like, we have to do what's right in terms of what we feel needs to be said and what we feel needs to be shared. And yes, with my book, it's not about me either. It's about my awakening process and what happened to me when I awakened and the revelations that I had and how I've been implementing those revelations in my daily life. And I feel like that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to help people wake up from the illusion that we are the identity and we are the ego self and we are the smaller self. And so if I can do that in 41,000 words, maybe I can't. And so that's the other thing. I can't be stuck to, well, it can't be any bigger. It might be double the size if the right questions get asked by the right editor.
Mm-hmm.
But at this stage, it's 41,000 words. And so, like, not being stuck on, oh, it has to be 65, otherwise nobody will accept me. That's not the way the universe works. That's the old system, the old way, when everything has a system and a process. The universe will give back when you're in alignment with the vibration that you seek to be in. When you're actually in the vibration and in the frequency that you want to make the impact of, then things just unfold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and back to, what we expected from our lives, it's like that also is we can expect a certain thing and we can want a certain thing and not be attached to the details around how that gets to happen. Right. So maybe it's more about, for me, like my intention is to be healthy and I'm not attached to, like, if I got cancer tomorrow, I would move through it and know that I would be okay. And yet, because my intention is to be healthy, I work hard at eating healthy and exercising. And, my intention is to have a good relationship. So I work hard at the relationship now. And yet, there's always those little, like, this isn't the story that I had in my head. And I know that's the same thing for you also, right? Like, there's that place of, this is my intention for the rest of my life. And
Yeah,
I'm not attached to it looking exactly the way that I
that's
expect
right. And I think that's the key here. You know, if you're listening out there, that what Karen just said is important, which is it's about intention, not about shoulds. So it's not about I have to be a certain way because I need to look a certain way to be accepted in society. It's like I intend to be healthy. I intend to be healthy. And you know what? Some days I may not even be in alignment with that. And it's about being okay with that too. It's about relaxing with the shoulds. So I intend to be healthy, but if I make choices today that are not aligned with that, that's okay too. Like, we just need to relax.
Yes.
We
Well,
just
and we
need to
both,
relax.
yeah. And we both know, we talk to our clients about this. And I think I possibly even learned this from you many years ago at a conferences where the shoulds come from others, right? You should be married forever. You should look a certain way. You should have a certain job because your parents are doctors. So you should be a doctor also. And then you're not. So you feel guilty. Though you should be an at-home mom, right? And then you have to work because you need to create the income, or maybe you're a single mom, so then you feel guilt around that. And the shoulds create a lot of guilt in our life. It should have been this way.
Absolutely. And so if we switch that and, like, yeah, I could. So I could have made a different choice. I could have made a different choice today with my eating habits. I didn't. That's okay. I love you, my inner child that needed that comfort today. But my intention moving forward is that, I honor the body and, I make a different choice, the next choice I
Yeah,
make. And so,
right.
yeah, like letting go of anything that is a should in your life and that's something that I needed to do with my adult son, was like, he should be happy. His life should look like this. He should be exercising more. He should be getting out of the house a bit more. And the moment I let go of that should, and it was like, oh, it's his journey. His journey, he needs to do it his way. Then he started to do those things anyway, because I let go of that invisible cord that I was holding on to between me and him. And so that's what we do every time there's a should, is that there's an invisible cord, like a rope, that tug of war that we're holding on to. And when we're holding on to that rope, we're actually bringing the energy of resistance. And the energy of resistance actually pushes away anything that the universe is about to provide. So it's about letting go. Now, it doesn't mean we don't take action. Like you said, you still exercise, you still shop healthy foods and so on. But it's about not being attached to a certain outcome. And you will be amazed as to the miracles that unfold when it doesn't have to be a certain way, when it can be an infinite number of ways. You just set the intention, you know it's going to happen, you take action towards it, and then how it happens, you don't really know.
Right. That trust and surrender, which is, that's working through that is sometimes a different perspective than I know I had for much of my life, because I wanted to control everything. And that's part of the downfall, right? Is also what I learned is that whole victimhood of, if it doesn't go my way, that the way I expected it to be, because I am in control, then I'm a victim of it. I'm a victim of, a difficult marriage. I'm a victim of my son dying. I'm like, I can't get out of it, and I'm going to stay here forever, and I'm going to feel this way. And yet when we let go of the control over it, we don't control everything. We can step out of it and be responsible. Like, I'm responsible for what happened in my life in many ways. Now, how am I responsible for Josh dying? I haven't quite figured that out yet. I don't feel like I'm responsible for that. And yet I'm responsible for all of the choices that I made in my life. Right. And so I'm not a victim of anything. I've created where I am right now, good or bad, right? All of the good and all of the things that aren't so good.
Yeah, and you are responsible for your reactions, and it's just been incredible watching you and the way you've navigated the most, challenging event that I could ever imagine is really taking ownership of your reactions, and that is your responsibility, and you've done a beautiful, beautiful job. So yeah, we do need to let go and surrender and leave it to God, because when we say God, it may resonate with you, it may not. What we mean is a higher force that is greater than your limited capacity to see the world. And that might be the universe, that might be source, that might be God, all that is, but it is a higher force that certainly Caryn and I believe in, because we've experienced so many miracles, and miracles happen every single day to every single one of us. It's whether we're aware of them or not. And yeah, give it over to God and know that it will be handled in a way that you can't handle, because you're too limited in your thinking. We all are.
Yeah. Yes, for sure. So I want to say to anyone that is on here listening is that, as if your life is not what you thought it would be, worrying about it is not going to change it. And yet we can still intend for a beautiful life. Just because I don't have or am not where I thought I would be, it doesn't mean that my life doesn't get to be happy and joyful and really amazing, because everything changes, right? So like with you, I mean, Eleni, you probably never thought that you'd live on the beach, right? And yet you also never thought you would divorce your first husband. And when you look at it, like, you've also created, because we always have an opportunity to reinvent. We always have an opportunity to, like, write a new story, right?
Yeah,
That's
we
what I love
do.
about our lives.
We do. It's an adventure. It's like, well, I wonder what's next. Because, yeah, I never thought that it was possible at this age, 55, to be living on the ocean. I thought that it would be something that would happen much later on in life. So, but not only that, not only do we get to create, the most incredible, beautiful life, we also need to be aware of what we currently have. And so rather than seeking something more and something better, and this is the life that we're going to create, you, Caryn, in your circumstances, you found peace in this present moment. Like in this moment, you have found so much joy, and so have I, because that exists for all of us right now. So all of us right now, at this very moment, we can choose to be happy. We can choose to be at peace. We can choose the way we see the world. It's all a matter of perspective.
Right. Yeah. No matter how hard it is when we're going through it, right? Or we think it is. Like one of my really good friends I just spent the weekend with in Arizona. We got together with our leadership team and we do some masterminding and we hiked Camelback Mountain and it was really awesome. And her husband is ill with, in fact, she was on just recently in one of our podcast episodes. So listen to it. It's with Beth. And her husband has cancer. And we talk about how, he could live for a while or maybe not. And so she works very hard to stay out of the fear of maybe not, because who knows what's next for her life? We just don't know, and no one wants to go through that. And yet she's still so lively and vibrant, and she has such a support system and friends around her that no matter what happens, she can intend a beautiful life for herself, whether she's, living with him or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is a beautiful episode, which is, I think, 2 episodes ago with Beth. Really, really, really beautiful. And how she's so navigating this situation where the husband that she loves so much has been given a limited time to live. And like you said, we don't know. Maybe he's going to live forever or maybe he's not. But the incredible thing is that she's okay with either scenario. And she knows that she will be okay with either scenario. And we need to know that we are way more stronger than we can possibly imagine. Way more stronger.
Oh, absolutely. If someone would have told me, what I was going to go through, I would have said, nope, I am not strong enough to handle that. And I do have to say, when people used to say, I heard a few times, God doesn't give you more than you can handle. And I just wanted to say, don't even go there with me. I don't want to be strong. I don't want to handle anymore. No, thank you. And yet, we do. We handle so much more than we think we can.
So much more, so much more. And these challenges show us how strong we are. And these challenges show us who we really are, which is what we're here to find out, is like who we are, to rediscover the truth about who we are, the divine God spark within us that is so much more powerful, so much more loving, and so much more forgiving than we ever could possibly imagine.
Yeah, true. So yes, if your life is not what you intended, I mean, I don't know that anyone's life, when we're that young child and we think we're going to be a football player, and it's so beautiful to dream, and yet life throws a lot of curveballs at us.
Yeah, but we're here for it.
Yep, we're here for it.
We can do it. We're here for it, sister. So,
Yes.
yay. So as we finalize this beautiful episode, one question that we always ask our guests is about, what does it mean to be real? Because our podcast is called Soul Sisters Get Real. And even when we do episodes by ourselves, we ask that question to ourselves, because we're always changing and there's always something different that's coming up for us in terms of what we can speak on being real. So what can you speak on getting real?
What does it mean to get real? To me, getting real means stepping outside your comfort zone and talking about what your life should have been and where your life is now, and just getting real with what it is deep inside of us that we all have. We all have fears, we all have worries, we all have should have beens, and yet getting real is admitting it to ourselves and then helping others through what it is that we've been through so they can get real too.
Yeah, taking that mask off and showing the world that we're as vulnerable and imperfect as everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. And what does getting real mean to you, my soul sister?
Well, that which is to take the mask off and to be and to honor the imperfection
I love that.
in ourselves, and say, you know what, you're beautiful regardless, you're worthy regardless. You know, you really, really are.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that, right? Is honor the imperfection. That's beautiful. And anyone that is here listening with us or listens later, we would love to hear from you. Comment below or just tell us, like, what does it mean for you to get real? And, and what are the imperfections? Because when we share them, sometimes we realize that they're not this big dark secret in our closet, that we all have them.
Exactly. So like, subscribe, share, and we will see you next time. Sending you so much love. Thanks for watching. We hope you loved it.
And if you did, please like this video and subscribe to the channel.
And remember, always connect to your truest essence.
And choose love. We'll see you next time.